Let me ask you this.
Obviously,
Cool.
yes, healing is
Cool.
wrong.
What bathroom should I go to?
The man, well, you're a man, right? Biological man.
Am I?
Are you a biological man?
Am I?
I'm asking you, are you?
I don't know. Why don't you?
You don't know if you're a biological man or not?
Why don't you help me?
Why would I do that? That doesn't make any sense.
Well, I'm saying, like, I mean, there's got to be like some sort of arbitration here. We don't want to accidentally abuse anybody, right? So we got to make sure we get this right.
I'm asking you, are you a biological man? Do you not know if you're a biological man or not?
I'm not telling you. I don't know. I mean, you just seem like that you would know.
I guess we can't
go
further in this then. Can't go further than on this then. So
right.
There's that.
All right. I'm just going to tell you. I'm not a biological man. No. Which bathroom do I go to?
Oh, you're not? Okay. So then you're a biological woman?
Yeah.
Okay, then you should go in the woman's bathroom.
Are you saying that it comes down to what I tell you?
Well, I can't check. And you're asking me
So
a
wait,
question.
We have the same position. Cool, V1C. You're being invited to speak. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, man. How are you doing? How are you doing, 1stAmender?
Good. I can't complain. What did you want to talk about exactly? I know you had a claim that you wanted to bring up, or if it was just a general topic, we could talk about the general topic.
I mean, it could be the general topic. It's, I guess it all stems from one question I have, because I've seen your debates when you've debated transgenderism. And you use the argument about the brain patterns, right? About how the brain patterns, if I'm understanding correctly, so let's say I'm a man and I'm showing the brain patterns that are very similar to a woman. That will make me then believe I'm a woman, right? And then therefore my gender would be a female. Is that your argument?
More accurately, to put it into like a colloquial way, if you're like a 14-year-old boy and you are just now going through puberty and, you're expecting, okay, well, I'm going to become a man. I'm going to become, bigger and stronger. And so what ends up happening is you, for whatever reason, the world has played a cruel trick on you. Nature or God or whatever you want to choose has played a cruel trick on you, and you have gynecomastia, which means that throughout puberty, you are going to grow breasts. And there's like this internal feeling where you're just like, that isn't right. I shouldn't grow breasts. I'm a boy. That internal feeling, that's gender. That's what I'm talking about. There's an internal feeling that is incongruent with what is happening with your external body.
So yeah, so pretty much if in your head you suffer from this where you believe you're the opposite sex, then pretty much if you believe it in your head, like if you're suffering from this, then you're gender-wise you're the gender which you identify in your head.
Yes, and I do believe that the thing in your head has a basis in your hormones as well as your neurobiology. Because they had tested on people who are transgender. There are some mega-analytic findings that confirm that trans people, I think it was over 98%, possessed these differences in brain character in the brain.
Okay, so basically, are you kind of like, would you say we should kind of just ignore sex entirely and just go purely on gender?
If we're talking about transgender individuals, you kind of have to imply sex as a concept, because what transgender just means is that your sex doesn't match your gender. That's what it means.
Yeah, I know, but it kind of sounds like you're saying is what you have going on in your brain, that kind of takes that kind of takes first priority over than what your sex is.
It's not that it is a priority. It's that both of these criteria need to exist in order to be that gender, in order to be trans.
Wait, what do you mean? Okay. But, okay, so, sorry, so explain that to me then?
Yeah, so your gender doesn't match your sex. That's what it means to be transgender. Transgender is a gender.
Yeah, but which one? Uh-huh.
And so, in order to create that distinction of what transgender is, it's where their sex doesn't match their gender.
Okay, so wait a minute. Now I have a whole new question. You just said transgender is a gender. So are you saying there's male, female, and transgender?
Yes, there are male trans individuals
Yeah.
and female trans individuals, yes.
Okay. So the thing is that, yeah, you're saying it's sex and gender, but it sounds like gender kind of takes priority, though, because let's say if my sex is I'm a male, but gender-wise I'm a female, well then I just live my life as a female and bada bing, bada boom.
Yeah, I mean that's a complicated preference, I suppose. I mean that would be left up to the individual.
Okay, so here's the thing. Now here's I guess my issue. Like one of the issues I have with it is that like, so okay, I guess I should ask. Do you think everyone that identifies as transgender, do you think they all suffer from gender dysphoria?
No.
Okay. So what other reasons would someone identify as transgender then?
Their gender doesn't match their sex.
Oh, but isn't that gender dysphoria?
No.
Okay.
Gender
dysphoria
is the discomfort that somebody feels by not having the same sex as their gender. Not all trans people have this.
So then what is it called then when their gender just doesn't match their sex?
Transgender.
So transgenderism is different from gender dysphoria?
Yes.
Okay. So there's no other reason why a man would want to dress like a woman. It's only if they're just this third gender, or if they suffer from gender dysphoria.
Nah, it could be possible that they have that they get a kick out of it. It's possible. I mean, you're saying like it's why somebody would dress as a woman. I'm sure there's multiple. There are cross dressers that are not transgender, for example.
I agree with that. So that leads me to my next question is, well, how do you know? Like, how do you know if someone is not just dressing like a woman because they? Okay, no, but I guess at least so you're just gonna have to take their word for it. But don't you think that's potentially dangerous?
No.
You don't.
Yeah.
Why not?
Well, I mean, I think it's when there's all sorts of things that we just kind of take people's word for it and just kind of move on with it.
Well, I don't think it's as easy as just moving on from it. I have a scenario for you. Okay, let's say, because I'm sure you believe that. Well, okay, never mind about that. Just let's say I'm a woman-hating man, right? I'm mega and, I hate women. I just want to oppress them, tell them what to do, right? And so let's say I'm like, it just really triggers me seeing women in sports. I'm like, nah, they need to be home in the kitchen. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to join women's sports and I am just going to just dominate them and really put them in their place. Do you think that you'll be putting some of these women in danger?
Sure.
Okay, so then you don't think that, so then do you still think you should just take people's word for it?
Yeah.
But what? But don't you think you'd be putting some women in danger?
I just don't think that anybody is like who hates women is going to actively turn trans just to dominate women in sports. It doesn't seem to be feasible. Like you have to understand like what it means to be trans. Like what are the implications of being trans? Being trans includes very much likely ostracism from pretty much everybody. Your friends, your family, your social circles, your job prospects, everything gets put into question when you become trans. And if your hatred of women is so great that you are willing to throw out your entire life for it, there's probably something else going on. I just don't find that to be realistic, not even remotely. I operated within your hypothetical, but it's just not realistic.
Yeah, realistic. I mean, I'm not sure if it's realistic that someone could break into my house right now. Like, I don't think it'll happen, but that doesn't mean it can't happen. And even in my hypothetical, like there could be a whole slew of other reasons why someone could just be pretend to be trans in order to infiltrate women's spaces. And the thing is, with your logic, is there's no way of discerning which ones are truly trans and which ones are just doing it because
I mean, to
either
be
they
fair,
get off on it.
To be fair, a majority of spaces or of sexual assaults is between cis men and women. Like a cis man doesn't get stopped by going into a woman's bathroom. And a cis man, you know, they will take advantage of women's bathrooms. And a majority of the assaults are, in fact, cis men. So I'm a little, like in fact, there's very, very, very few instances of trans or self-described trans individuals abusing women. It's very much overwhelmingly, even if I imply capita, as in like I adjust for population, it's still overwhelmingly cis men. And honestly, to be fair with you, like it actually kind of makes sense because one thing that's really common in trans communities or trans women, they often are taking hormones or hormone blockers, which actually reduces the libido. It's so much so that they even ask their doctors, like, hey, can you give me my sex drive back? I just have very little sex drive. And yeah, I mean, just generally speaking, these lower libidos that just reduces any sexual tendencies. They're just not interested.
So again, the issue with that, though, is that you're assuming that there are men. Yeah, let's say I'm granting that. I'm like, yeah, you know what, you're right. It is majority cisgender men and women. But the thing is that you don't think in order to get access to women's spaces that there's not going to be cisgender men that are going to pretend they're trans in order to infiltrate those spaces?
I think like if you're a cisgender man and you want to assault women, you don't need the existence of trans people as an excuse. You could just do it. In which case, like you go to jail and you get put in a box. And to be honest, if a trans person does this, then same thing. You just take them and put them in a box. Why should this ruin the existence of all other trans people because there's people that abuse, you know, their privilege?
Still, it doesn't make, like, why you make it easier though? That's the thing. It's like you're making it easier for, like, let's say like creep cisgender men in order to gain access to these spaces. And even if they're not even like full on essaying them or something in the bathroom, they could still go on and take pictures or put a little camera in there or something like that. Like they could do other things other than straight up. Yeah, I mean,
that's still overwhelmingly cis men doing that, not transgender individuals.
As I said, even if I granted you that, what I'm saying is that under your criteria, there's no way of telling who is an actual transgender person and someone who is just a cisgendered creep who wants access into these spaces. In your logic, you want to allow all of these people in there.
Yeah, so that way they got to go to the bathroom, right?
I don't think you're understanding what I'm saying.
Well, I'm like, okay, I mean, I am understanding. I am understanding what you're saying. There are already restrictions of men going into women's bathrooms, yet cisgendered people still sexually assault women. So I don't see what exactly you're solving, number one. And then number two, like, you believe transgender people ought to be treated normally, right? Would you agree with that?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So isn't it fair to say that there are public accommodations for, you know, bathroom usage, and that people ought to be able to have access to that?
Well, no one's stopping them from using the bathroom.
Okay.
No one's stopping them from going to the bathroom. It's just using the one that you, with their
I can ask,
the biological sex that you were born in.
So did you know that a majority of trans people, the way that they answer is they try to avoid the situation entirely, hoping there's a unisex bathroom, or they just go to the bathroom at home and then just try not to use the bathroom anywhere, because there's instances where trans women are using the bathroom. If they use the women's, there are people that make a fuss about it. And then when they decide to use the men's, they also make a fuss about it because they pass too well, or like they're seen as like a freak. So it's like, I guess my question is like, I feel like they have a right to kind of go to the bathroom.
Yeah, they do have the right to go to the bathroom.
So which bathroom do they go to?
It must suck if you're someone, just to make it easy, the one that they're biologically born in, that matches their biological sex.
All right, let me let's. I
because the other way
make sure you get this
complicates things.
This woman should go to the men's.
Is that a man?
I just,
A biological man?
yeah.
A biological man?
Yep. I just want to be clear. We want to ensure that they go to the men's, right? Because they're a biological man.
Yeah.
Okay.
The alternative.
Let's try the next one. Let's try the next one. What about this one? This is a trans man. So women's.
Yeah, women's.
Okay. And you don't find anything unreasonable about this?
Well, before I might have found something unreasonable, but the thing is that now that if you want to allow anybody, as long as they just identify as a woman, into the women's bathroom, well, then yeah, I think
my position makes sense in the sense that you go to the bathroom that you feel most comfortable in, and don't bother people who just need to go to the bathroom. They're just going to the bathroom. They're not going to sexually assault anybody. You just let them go to the bathroom. And like, for whatever reason, I mean, I'm sorry, this trans woman is not going to feel comfortable going to the men's bathroom, and this trans man is not going to feel comfortable going to the women's bathroom. And to be honest, like, if you had to be honest with yourselves, you would not clock this person as being a woman, and you would not clock this person as being a man. You just wouldn't, right?
Yeah. For first glance, I wouldn't.
Okay, so like, I don't see what harm is there in them going to their the bathroom of their gender identity. They're just using the bathroom.
Yes. Yeah. So I know you don't see the harm in these people. And again, if you would have asked me, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago, and I would have said the same thing. However, the alternative, I think, is more harmful, because you could be putting women and girls in danger.
That's wrong.
And so to me,
I've already debunked this. I've said
you did not.
Overwhelmingly.
You did not. You've actually never answered my concerns. You just said, well, you didn't really answer my concerns that what if cisgender men pretend to be trans in order to gain access? You never said that. You just said, oh, it wouldn't happen. But said who? You?
No, it says, like, I'm saying that the actual mechanics of being trans is very, very, very difficult. It is so much so that someone would likely never do that. I just don't see how a trans man is going to, or I'm sorry, a person who is not trans want to take advantage of women by becoming trans. Like, what kind of like weird, there it is. What kind of weird Wile E. Coyote level of like gymnastics that you have to go through when, let's be honest, I feel like you don't have to be trans to sexually assault people. You could just go into the women's bathroom and sexually assault people if that's your goal. You don't need to uproot your entire life to do so.
You don't have to uproot your entire life. Do you think in order for a cisgender man to gain access to women's restrooms, they actually need to go through like HRT treatment and live every single day as a woman in order to do that? No, they could, under your logic, they could just put on a dress and a wig and makeup and be like, hey guys, I identify as a woman, and
or just go into the bathroom
using the women's bathroom.
They don't even need to wear the makeup or do any of that. They could just go in. There's no guard standing at the bathroom. Like, again, you're like thinking of this bizarre, like it's I mean, I don't mean to, it is bizarre because it's like a weird kind of like Looney Tunes, Wile E. Coyote like situation of like, it's like very elaborate, whereas like they could just go into the bathroom and just sexually assault women. Like, you don't need to wear a wig to do that.
Yeah, 1stAmender. Here's the thing though. If I just go in dressed as myself, just as a man, and I go into the women's restroom, someone's going to see me and be like, hey, there's a freaking man in the restroom. We got to get him out of here and arrest him, right? But if I were dressed in a wig or whatever like that and put on makeup, well, all of a sudden now I could just be like, no, guys, I'm trans. Like, you're oppressing me if you don't let me use the restroom. And then they have people like you that would be like, hey, let him go. Let him use the restroom. Or let her use the restroom, I should say. You don't see the difference there? You don't see how they could have easier access?
I mean, if there's a person that would do that, I agree with you. Put them in a box. Why can't trans people use a bathroom?
We just explained it to you. How come you keep going to that question?
Well, because I just told you, like, there are lots of people that would commit ill, and I agree with you. There are people that would trick people and commit ill So what we do as a society is that those that commit ill, we take them and put them in a box. And mind you, even if you got rid of this law regarding like, oh, trans people have to use their biologically assigned, they could still sexually assault women, and the end result would be the same.
Yeah, but why make it easier? If you do this, you're making it easier.
I don't see how it's easier. I think it's the same amount of effort. It's walking into a bathroom, wig and makeup, and then sexually assaulting a woman. Now there's a law that says no men in wigs and makeup in bathroom. Okay, they go into the bathroom anyway, wig and makeup, and then they sexually assault women. I don't see how it's going to prevent or make things harder.
Well, yeah, because there's going to be people like you defending them and being like, hey, leave that trans person alone. Just let them use the restroom. And then the woman that got assaulted or something could be like, no, they assaulted me. And you could be sitting there being like, oh, yeah, well, you're just making up lies. You're just being transphobic. And it gives the cisgender man pretending to be a woman a plausible deniability.
I didn't say anything regarding you being transphobic. It just sounded like you were just asking questions. And the next thing is that
no,
it sounded like
you said I was transphobic.
It didn't even say that you
I didn't say that you said that I did.
Okay. I didn't say that...
Let me repeat it. No, let me repeat it. So let me repeat what I said. Maybe I didn't make it clear. So let's say a cisgender man dresses like a woman that, entered the restroom. SA's a woman in there, right? And then the woman comes out and says, hey, this person just SA'd me. But then since there's only both of them in there, they could have people like you that are like, hey, that woman's just being transphobic, being transphobic against this trans woman. And I don't believe this woman. It gives the cisgender person pretending to be a woman plausible deniability.
I'm a little lost. Like if somebody had gotten sexually assaulted, typically what you would do in that situation is you use an R kit and you perform an investigation, right? And that you would obviously see cameras outside the bathroom. So I'm still lost. Like, just because that I'm in favor of trans people wouldn't result in this thing that you're talking about. It just seems kind of weird to me.
First of all, cameras outside the bathroom aren't the same as cameras in the bathroom. So you would still have the whole, like, he said, she said thing going on.
Do you think that there should be cameras in the bathroom?
There's that. No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that you are the one that brought up that say, well, there's cameras. And I'm just pointing out, well, they're not.
I'm saying like there's ways.
So that doesn't
the cameras is irrelevant, right? All I'm saying is that there are ways to determine if somebody had been SA'd in the bathroom. And it doesn't matter if they're trans or not trans. If they're sexually assaulting people, we put them in a box. What's wrong with that? Now trans people can use the bathroom. What's the problem?
Because there are people like you that are going to give them that plausible deniability, that whole benefit of a doubt, like, oh, well, I think that woman is just being transphobic. They're just hating because this person wants to use the restroom.
I mean, do you believe in innocence before proven guilty in a court of law?
Okay, well, 1stAmender, if I were to go into
Can you just say yes or no to that? Do you believe in innocence until proven guilty in a court of law?
Well, yes, I do. Now, let me go back to my
point. Okay,
so
then the trans person would be innocent before proven guilty in a court of law. It is irrelevant as to whether or not that they're trans. So, like the plausible deniability
already, see how that connects to the point at all.
It does, because the plausible deniability exists in both you and I.
Okay, so let me get back to my point. So if I were to go in there, 1stAmender, dressed as myself, disguise myself, into the women's restroom, and then a woman comes out and says, oh my gosh, that guy just, SA'd me, what would you say to that then?
Well, there's usually an investigation that would happen.
No, what would you say? Not what would happen. What would you say? Like, what would your first opinion be?
Me? I would, my opinion, I don't know. I don't know what happened.
Like your knee-jerk reaction.
Oh my God, that's horrible. And then I'd walk
crying,
away.
Hey, that guy just SA'd me.
I would go, oh my God, that's horrible.
No, but
and
your
then I would walk
reaction, away. Would you be?
That's my knee-jerk reaction.
But would you
I just
be
gave
more,
it to you.
how do you say it? Would you be more likely to believe the woman in that scenario? Or would you really just be like, well, I don't know, we're just going to let the court settle it?
I like the court settle it. I assume innocence before proving guilty.
You wouldn't be more likely to believe the woman. Like, I understand what you're saying. Yeah, obviously, let the courts do their thing.
To be fair, right?
But
like,
just your opinion, though.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what you think
opinion,
I am. Like just some like crazy SJW leftist that thinks like all men should die or whatever. Like I'm not that. The arguments. I know you're not. I'm saying like that the arguments that I would think would be a concept of innocence until proven guilty. I said, well, it is possible that the woman has been essayed, in which case I hope, if they have been essayed, that justice is served. And if you're innocent and that you're being accused of it, that the woman would have crimes coming up against them for slander or, whatever law is there. I mean, if I had to make operate under the assumption that what I would say is, okay, well, if the man essayed the woman, then I hope that they get what's coming to them, and if the woman is lying, and the man is perfectly innocent, then I hope that crimes get pushed onto the woman, like slander or something, because that's obviously a very serious accusation that can result in some. A great deal of reputational loss.
Okay, great. Yeah, I completely agree with that.
Cool. So
I guess
can trans people use the bathroom?
A sense of no.
Okay.
I just said, well, they can use the bathroom, but not the one that they identify that with gender-wise. I don't know. What's
you don't
so
think
funny.
that there's going to be anybody looking at the person, the two people that I showed, that they're not going to be like, what the heck? Why is this person in the wrong bathroom? I'm sorry. They're going to look at that man, the transgender man, and they're going to look at that man and go, you're in the wrong bathroom. And the trans woman, and they're going in that, you're going to the wrong bathroom. Like, we could use, I think that there's a level of intuitive logic that you're not utilizing and instead going by like a very rigid, it must be this way. And you for whatever reason can't seem to sympathize with these people. Let's go back to the gynecomastia thing. Let's say, for example, you are growing breasts and, the boys, they're picking on you saying, you don't look like a man. You don't belong in here. Go to the woman's bathroom. Wouldn't you feel awful?
Yeah, just like I'm sure if there's a little girl in the restroom and some guy in a dress goes and essays her, I'm sure that little girl would feel awful too. And her parents, it would be awful.
Well, but you understand that, like, that doesn't really answer my hypothetical, right? Like, I'm saying put yourself in the perspective of the trans person.
Yeah, no, I'm sure it would be awful to have that, to suffer from that, and to be really conflicted about using the restroom. I completely empathize with that.
All right, I mean...
What about you? Do you empathize with a young girl or women that don't feel safe in restrooms or could potentially be assaulted or get assaulted by people pretending to be trans?
Yeah, well, I mean, there are numerous Pew research that actually shows that a majority of women don't actually care about this topic. It's usually mostly people who are just... Yes, that's correct. A majority do not care. It's not a concern. Just use the bathroom. It's a fine.
Well, what about the
because they already know that a majority of essays is not trans women.
Yes, even if I grant you that majority is not of trans women, what about cisgender men that are pretending to be trans?
All right, great, but I just don't see this giant amount of cisgender men doing that, and also they're going to do that anyway if they want to sexually assault women. They don't have to do a weird Looney Tunes thing. They could just walk in.
I don't know why you keep thinking it's a weird Looney Tunes thing.
It is because you got to put on a costume to go into the women's bathroom. No, you could just walk in. Have you ever mistakenly used the women's bathroom before?
So a man putting on a dress now is putting on a costume? Whoa.
No, can I?
I just asked, wait a minute.
I want you to address what I just said.
A man putting on a woman's dress is a costume
you're pivoting.
now.
Please stop pivoting.
It's a costume now. That's fascinating.
Please stop pivoting.
No, you said that. That's interesting.
Let's try
a man putting on a dress is a costume.
We're going to try it one more time. So, crap, now you made me lose my train of thought.
I'll get you back on track. You said a man putting on a dress is a costume.
No, that isn't what I was getting to. But sure, I'll go ahead and engage with you.
This is interesting because you're pro-trans. But you're
yeah, so if a person is
transgenderism.
Yes, so if a person is cisgendered and their purpose of putting on a dress specifically to trick women and sexually assault women is putting on a costume, yes. But I do not consider this to be analogous to being a trans woman because their gender doesn't match their sex and they would like their external features to match that. So it's not necessary. It's more than just a costume. It's a very way of life. So no, not the same thing.
So if I were to believe, if I got hit in the head or something and I believed I was Abraham Lincoln and I wore Abraham Lincoln outfits and stuff, you wouldn't consider that like a costume or anything?
If a person was dressed as Abraham Lincoln, this is such an odd way of going about it.
You can't just call things odd because you can't think of arguments. You can't just call things odd.
Well, I'm trying to kind of wrap my head around it. I'm thinking like,
it's not that hard.
I mean, it's like, it comes down into like a philosophic, like what I consider to be I don't really think it's all that relevant. Like whether or not something is a costume versus not a costume. This doesn't really revoke any of my argument regarding the existence of trans people and that we ought treat trans people like human beings and they ought be able to use the bathroom. And honestly, like if they just need to use the bathroom, just let them use the bathroom. It's not a big deal. If anybody sexually assaults another individual, it doesn't matter, trans, not trans, we just take them and put them in a box. That to me seems to be the most logical way of going about it, not like this kind of weird, culture war, pro-trans, anti-trans position. I'm simply saying, let's just, use our brains here and say, hey, let them use the bathroom that they feel comfortable in going to. It shouldn't be a big deal.
Well, yeah, but you're putting people in danger because if someone wants to pretend they're trans,
the case.
They could just do that. I know I know you keep saying that.
I'm not.
But
no,
it's
so
possible.
the only thing that you've been able to present in terms of putting people in danger is a hypothetical. And so like I can present you a hypothetical.
It's never happened. No, that's never happened.
Well, cool. If I said to you that let's say that you're a serial killer. And you are killing tons and tons of women in the basement and chopping their bodies apart. Why would you do that? It's silly, right? It's a It's not reality, right? You're not actually putting women in danger. What you're doing is you're looking at a hypothetical. And then on the basis of the non-existent hypothetical, creating outrage from the non-existent hypothetical. And so going back into reality, women are not in danger by sharing the bathroom with trans women, and trans men are not in danger to other men using the bathroom.
Going back to your hypothetical, I could engage with the hypothetical. I mean, if I were a serial killer killing women, it's because I was a crazy lunatic serial killer, and that's why I would be doing that. Because I'm a sociopath and a psychopath.
You're not understanding my.
I know,
my
but I'm
argument.
going backwards.
You're not understanding my argument. The whole point that I brought that argument up, was because you basically were saying that you're putting women in danger. That's what you told me. I'm not putting women in danger. You operated a flabbergasting hypothetical and extrapolated that into me actually saying that women are put in danger, when in reality, women are not put in danger.
As you.
What? No, not says me, says statistics. I mean, if you want, I can bring you up studies that show sexual assault and how it's overwhelmingly cis men. And mathematically, even if we include the very tiny minority of trans people, it still is mostly cis men. Like I've sat there and I've done the math on this. I mean, if you really want, for the next 20 minutes, we can go over a systematic analysis on how it's not trans women assaulting women in bathrooms.
But you keep bringing up trans women. I keep saying cisgender men who are pretending to be trans to gain access into
okay,
these
that's a hypothetical. That's not reality.
That's a wacky.
Yeah, it is a wacky hypothetical.
So
no one does this. I didn't say it doesn't. It never happened.
No.
I'm saying no, like almost pretty
0%.
much nobody does this.
0%. Never happened.
Yeah, it would pretty much
never
be zero.
Happened,
Yes,
0%. Never happened.
Yes, it would be in the 0%
pretty
category.
much, or
That's
actually 0%.
it would be in zero. Yeah, it would be 0%.
It would be 0%.
That's correct. Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Well, it's 0% that.
Yeah, like if something is 0.00017%, that's still 0%. Yes.
Okay, 1stAmender. What do you think the chances are someone's going to break into your house right now?
0%.
So if I were to say, okay, 1stAmender, it's pretty much low that someone's going to break in your house.
Yeah.
Negligible. Someone's going to break in your house. Would you leave your front? Okay, let me finish. If I were to tell you, okay, 1stAmender, it's very low that someone's going to break in your house, so therefore you should just leave your front door wide open.
No.
Why?
Oh, because it's smart to take necessary precautions. That doesn't impede on anybody's
really?
liberties.
It's smart to take. It doesn't impede. What if someone's at liberty?
Yeah,
to
like
take
me
your
locking
stuff?
my door isn't
on their liberties.
Me locking my door isn't revoking anybody's liberties, right? Like they don't have a right to my house, so it's not really impeding on your ability to live your life.
Trans woman doesn't have a right to the woman's bathroom.
You already said that people have a right to the public restroom, and I guess the only thing that we disagree with is what restroom they're allowed to use. And I mean, I'm glad that you bit the bullet on like looking at this very clearly. Like if you just looked at them, they would be a man. They're supposed to go to the woman's restroom, and if they're a woman, they're supposed to go to the man's restroom.
So another thing is like keeping your door closed and locked. So the whole reason why someone would want to lock their front door and not leave it wide open was because that would be smarter to take precautions like that, because it helps keep you safe.
That's correct.
Correct?
That's correct.
So how come that logic doesn't apply with bathrooms and women and girls?
Because you're not being going to be essayed likely from a trans person. In fact, it would be a cis man that would do that. And the end result is that just would take away the liberties of people from being able to access the restroom if they need it. Like, let me...
Well, no one's saying.
Let me ask you another question. Like, let's say, like, you know, one thing that happened, I went to a cigar lounge, right? And if you've ever been to a cigar lounge, it's mostly men. You know, many women don't really show up at a cigar lounge. And I'm standing there at the men's bathroom. And they were just like, I was waiting in line. And somebody came up to me. They said, "Why are you waiting?" I was just like, "I'm waiting to use the men's bathroom." I said, "You can use the women's. No one's going to use it. It's all right." And so then I just used the women's. What's the big deal?
What's the big deal? So pretty much there should be no gendered bathrooms, and you just think anyone should. You should just think
I'm not necessarily against having gendered bathrooms. I mean,
then what was the point of that story? Then what was the point of that story?
Well, I'm just saying it's not a big deal. That's all I'm trying to tell you. Like, you're making it into a big deal when in reality it's not a big deal. It's just let people use the bathroom that they feel comfortable in going. It's not a big deal. These things don't matter. There's much more important things. Like, we could talk about, you know, what's going on regarding the erosion of the middle class. We can talk about, you know, birth crisis. We can talk about the environment and how it's being destroyed. You know, I just don't see why is it such a big deal if someone just wants to use the bathroom. Like it's like the least important thing on my mind. Like I don't think about it anywhere close to as often as a lot of Republicans that I talk to. I'm not saying you're a Republican, but I'm saying that a majority of like right-wingers, they obsess about this. And I just don't understand it. It doesn't make any sense.
I don't know how it doesn't make any sense. Because see, listen, here's the thing, 1stAmender. I could actually understand where you're coming from. You're really empathizing with the trans person that looks like a woman and stuff like that, and you think they should be able to use the bathroom that they feel comfortable using, that they identify with, because you don't think that they should be scared, You don't think they should be harassed. You just want them to comfortably be able to use the restroom. Am I correct?
Be able to exist in society without harassment. Yeah. Kind of like it's assumed for men and women. Yeah.
Okay, so now see how even though I don't agree with that argument, see how I could at least understand where you're coming from and not just go, man, you're so weird. Like, I just don't get it. Like, you honestly don't see the concerns that we have.
I see the concern. I just don't understand the obsession, I guess.
Well, because we don't want innocent women and girls to get hurt.
Unless, of course, if there's a baby involved.
Much like how you're concerned. Okay, well, we could talk about that.
I just want to be clear, right? I mean, you don't want women to get hurt, but, you don't want them to have the choice of... Do you want them to have abortions? Are abortions acceptable in your mind? We'll get back on topic. I just want to be clear. I do want to get back on topic, but you did say that you want to protect women and you want women to be safe. And then I said, well, but not in terms of if there's a fetus involved. I did say baby. What I want to correct is I mean fetus. But then again, that's jumping ahead. I don't want to put words in your mouth. Are you a pro-life or pro-choice?
Are you going to get into an abortion? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah, we're not going to get into the abortion argument. I just want to know your position, right? Because what you had said to me is that you want, the reason why you do not want trans women in women's spaces is because you want to keep women safe. So I just want to be clear if whether or not that you're consistent in your worldview and that you do want to keep women safe. And we are aware that pregnancies are potentially life-threatening. Every single one of them are potentially life-threatening. And you're not really aware that they're life-threatening until they actually are. And it is usually in states where abortion is prevented, where women's lives are put into danger. So I just want to be clear, right, that are you pro-choice or pro-life?
I have no problem answering that question. I just don't want this debate to go into that because that is not the topic.
That's fair.
Okay, so can we go back to the trans debate then, and we could have the abortion debate again?
Are you pro-choice or pro-life? That's all you have to answer.
I'm pro-life.
You're pro-life. Okay, so the concept of harming women is not a thing. It's just about hating trans people.
That is ridiculous. I could make the same thing about to you. Oh, well, it's not about helping trans people. It's about hating women.
Well, but I hold a consistent worldview in that I believe women ought to have the choice, and I believe that trans women are women, and so I would want to protect all women, which means that trans women have a right to use the bathroom as they see fit. It's perfectly consistent. Yours is the inconsistent one.
Oh, it's not consistent because you want to give men easier access to women's spaces.
I'm saying giving women by gender access to women's spaces.
All right. Well, I guess I'm going to have to disagree that it's logically consistent because, no, you are putting biological women and girls in danger by allowing biological men into women's spaces.
That's not true because
that's
only true under the basis of your hypothetical. I don't know why you keep extrapolating hypothetical as if you're real. Why are you a serial killer? I gave you a hypothetical where you're a serial killer. Why are you a serial killer?
And I engage with the hypothetical. I'm saying, well, if I were a serial killer, I would be one because
I was a psychopath. The point is not to engage with the hypothetical. The point is that hypotheticals aren't real.
That's not exactly the point of hypotheticals. It's kind of to test your worldview to make sure you're logically consistent. But regardless, you saying that just because, well, you're just saying 0%, that it'll never happen. Well, that's just you saying that.
Well, like no, the numbers actually show that. That's not just me saying that. That is empirically the case.
That's cisgender men.
My ability of using my lock is not equivalent to preventing trans women access to bathrooms in women's spaces. That is not equivalent.
What if a trans woman wanted to rob your? Do you live in an apartment, or what if they wanted to rob your apartment?
I don't live in an apartment. I have a house.
Okay, then what if they wanted to rob your house?
I would prevent them from doing that.
How would you do that?
I would kill them if they threatened to kill me.
Okay.
Like, you understand that the aspect of them being trans is irrelevant, right? Like, I don't just give somebody kid gloves just because they're trans. I'm saying that, like, right now, in today's day and age,
I kind of think you do.
In the United States, well, I'm explaining it to you. I don't. I'm in the United States. There is a huge push against trans people, and it's often at the lack of understanding and the push of like a culture war, often that will only just bring popularity to people, as opposed to actually like abiding for what is right in the world. What it's just causing is just an intense amount of harm on a minority of people that don't deserve it. That's what I believe.
Yeah, I don't think women and girls deserve it either.
Great. So you and I are in agreement. Trans women deserve to be treated respectfully, just like other women. I agree with you. Yeah.
Okay, sure. I never disagreed with that, but that wasn't the point of that at all.
No. Yep. Only women go into women's spaces. Totally agree. That means trans women can use the bathroom. Yep.
Yeah, or if a man just wants to put on a dress and infiltrate women's spaces, that's perfectly fine too.
I mean, a cis man doesn't have to be a Looney Tunes character to do that. They could just do that, and then in which case we put them in a box. I agree with you. Let's put them in a box.
So you keep saying Looney Tunes character as if that's unbelievable. Never happened.
Yeah, it doesn't. It really doesn't. It's totally made up by the right. Yeah.
Totally made up?
Yep.
All right. No, I'm going to have to find cases, but what's it
Are
called?
you going to find a single case out of 300? Hold on. Are you going to find a single case out of 300 million people and say, see, it happens? Is that your argument?
Yeah, because you're saying it never happened. Because your argument
yeah, I mean,
never happened.
Statistically speaking, it doesn't.
That disproves your argument.
It doesn't, because statistically speaking, it really doesn't happen. I'm sure out of 300 million people, there is like a single freak scenario that causes something bad to happen, in which I agree with you, put them in a box. That person should not be in society. That doesn't mean all trans people shouldn't access. Like, what if, for example, that I extended that to say, white people can't go to any crowded areas anymore. They're not allowed because majority of white people commit violent crimes, usually like in hordes of people. And so we don't want any of these white people to go AWOL accidentally. And so we should prevent all white people from going into public spaces where there's a lot of crowds. Wouldn't that be silly? That's a silly argument, right?
Well, that would be silly.
Yeah. Because, like, what? The probability of a white person actually doing that is, well, it's pretty low, right?
Sure.
So why is that different for trans people?
So how many times has your house been burglarized or robbed or whatever? Like, how many times has someone broke into your house?
I am not answering that question. I don't think it's... number one, it's a little bit personal. Okay, number two, it's irrelevant. Is there any way that you can make it less personal?
Okay, Yes. Okay. Okay. I'll make it less personal. I'll just go with okay. A person lives at a house. They've been living there for 10 years, and no one's broken into their house. Right? There's been no incidents whatsoever. Would it be advisable then that they should leave their door wide open, never lock it?
No. Again, you keep bringing this up, and you're not engaging with what I had said prior. There is nothing impeding you from living your life by me locking my own door, right? But there is something. There's someone being impeded if they can't use their bathroom.
Well, you've already said that if it's a cisgender man pretends to be a woman, goes in a woman's space and does something, put him in a box. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, if they commit sexual assault, you put them in a box. Completely agree. Yeah.
Okay. So what if the person really just likes robbing houses? Or what if they just really need the money, so they just want to rob houses, make their money that way? You wouldn't be impeding on their life.
No, because you're harming other people by doing that. You put them in a box.
What if they don't harm anybody? What if they just steal the stuff? No one gets hurt. They just
Put them
steal
in a
it.
box. I'm very strange in this way, where I, like, among other leftists, like I place a great deal of, I guess, honor. I don't know honor if this is the right word. I put a great deal of emphasis on the execution of private property rights being exercised. I think it's extremely important to the, and it's like very foundational to the existence of like modern Western society. And I think if you like take away basic property rights, a lot of things go way out the window. And I very much am not in favor of that. Like, I was even against what was happening with the George Floyd riots, believe it or not. Like, I did not like seeing businesses getting their stuff looted. I was really upset by that. Let me ask you this.
Well, obviously,
Cool.
yeah, stealing is
Cool.
wrong.
What bathroom should I go to?
The man. Well, you're a man, right? Biological man.
Am I?
Are you a biological man?
Am I?
I'm asking you. Are you?
I don't know. Why don't you
You
tell
don't know
me?
if you're a biological man or not?
Why don't you help me?
Why would I do that? That doesn't make any sense.
Well, I'm saying,
You have
like,
to
I
tell
mean,
me
you know, there's got to be
unless,
like some sort of arbitration here. We don't want to accidentally abuse anybody, right? So we got to make sure we get this right.
I'm asking you, are you a biological man? Do you not know if you're a biological man or not?
I'm not telling you. I don't know. I mean, you just seem like that you would know. I mean,
I guess we can't
you seem
go
to be.
further in this then. Can't go further than on this then. So
right.
there's that.
All right, I'm just going to tell you. I'm not a biological man. No. Which bathroom do I go to?
Oh, you're not? Okay. So then you're a biological woman?
Yeah.
Okay, then you should go in the woman's bathroom.
Are you saying that it comes down to what I tell you?
Well, I can't check. And you're asking me
So
a
wait.
question.
We have the same position. It comes down to what they say.
Oh, well, what's it called? So you asked me. So you asked me. You asked me which bathroom should I use? Okay. He's frigging out, guys.
Oh my God. I didn't even mean to do that, but that happened. That's hilarious. Come on. That's funny. All right. So earlier in this argument, and I'd love to clip it really, because it's an incredible position. You said, well, so it just comes down to what people say. And I say, yeah. And then when I drill down to what you would determine what bathroom that they use, it also comes down to what people say. All I had to tell you was that I'm born a biological woman, and all of a sudden I have full access in your mind to the women's spaces.
It was with your freaking argument, though. That.
Well, I asked you what bathroom I should go to. It wasn't even an argument.
Yeah.
All I said was, what bathroom should I go to?
Because now under your worldview, all you have to say is, "Yep, I'm a woman," and then there you go.
Well, no, in my worldview, I don't need
spaces.
in my worldview, I don't need to question a single individual. All I do is I just let people use the bathroom that they need, and then that's it. That's the system I operate on.
Okay, so yeah, if someone that looked like you walked into the woman's restroom, you would just, okay, I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to let them use that restroom.
Yeah, kind of. First of all, I wouldn't even be in the women's restroom, but assuming that I was a woman in the women's restroom and I saw
Didn't you just
a
say
man
you used
walk
the
in,
women's
I mean, I'm
restroom
just
earlier?
using the restroom and I'm leaving.
Didn't you just say you used the woman's restroom earlier?
Yeah, because it was the men's was occupied and someone just said you can
I
use
guess
the
if
women's.
any woman saw you in... Sure, so, and if a woman just saw you in there, I'm like, oh my God, what are you doing here? I guess in order just to get out, you can just like, no, I'm a woman, I'm a biological woman. And then they'll be like, oh, okay.
No, I would just say, sorry, the men's restroom was in use. I didn't realize that this place was in use. My bad. That would be what I would do.
Okay. So you know what? Yeah, you're right. I guess we don't have to do the Looney Tunes example of wearing a dress now. I could just walk into the women's restroom. Like, let's say if I was a creep, right? And if I wanted to just go into the women's restroom, I could just be like, no, guys, I'm a woman. I'm a biological woman. Yeah, I know I look like this, but I was born a woman. I'm biological, so this is my bathroom.
Yeah, I mean, that's also true in your mind. Because if I can just say I'm a biological woman, then I can use the bathroom by your lights. That is insanely hilarious.
See, this whole, like, now everything is just topsy-turvy now because of this ideology.
No, it's topsy-turvy because you will not
whatever bathroom
move
that they want.
Yeah, I'm saying that it's topsy-turvy because you will not move on an otherwise completely reasonable position. My position is a lot more reasonable than you give it credit for. And while it requires you to take all of these bizarre twists and turns, mine is very simple, and I don't even have to educate a single person to act in this way. But for whatever reason, you've got to go out of your way to do it. So I'm lost. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, because it doesn't make sense to you. Nothing makes sense to you. If it doesn't agree with your worldview, it just doesn't make sense. You can't grant, like, even when I said, oh, well, we're concerned about women, like, in your head, you can't fathom that because
you don't. I mean, because there's plenty of instances of mortality being risked by having children, but you're perfectly pro-life, as in it should be up to a politician, 100 to 1,000 miles. So obviously, it really just comes down to I don't know if like you just like controlling people, or I don't really know I think what it is. Like, if I can just be honest with you. I think what it is that there's a lot of people with trans people. They're just genuinely, it freaks them out that that trans people exist. It makes them go,
oh shit,
ew, icky, and then that's it. That's the entire basis behind it. And there's lots of people where the initial knee-jerk reaction is that. Yes.
Okay, so I appreciate the armchair therapy right there, like, diagnosing me. But
none of that was therapy. I was just saying what I think it is for a lot of anti-trans people.
I understand.
It has nothing to do with protecting women.
Because that's what... Yeah, I understand that's what you think because that's what you have it in your head. You have this bigotry against, like, right-wingers and stuff, so you think we're just all hateful people.
I didn't say right-wingers are hateful people. I said it's really common.
I know you didn't. Well, you said that before. You said you do hate right-wingers and stuff, but
it is true. I do have a video that says I hate Republicans. That is fair. In reality, like, obviously, like, I'm sure that there are right-wingers that I can get along with. I don't like the part where they start, wanting to legislate or subjugate people that has actually caused no harm. I'm not looking at trans people largely have not caused any harm to anybody. It's just people's outrage.
No, they have caused harm. Like, to say that they've not caused harm, that's ridiculous.
What harm have they caused?
Well, first of all, they're beating women at women's sports. I mean, that's not fair.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought they had been largely banned out of sports. What about that one girl that got hurt? You mean that girl that sustained it? You mean that girl? Do you mean that girl that sustained injuries that's really typical of her sport? Yes, that did happen.
What sport are you even talking about?
It was a boxing match.
Yeah, but do you think that largely happens?
Yeah, the person got a messed up eye, and it turns out that, like, when they found out that that's
brain
actually
damage.
A very, very common injury in that sport.
He also got brain damage too. I'm not sure how common that is, but I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm saying, like, that can happen with or without trans women. And then also, like, this doesn't even take into account the existence of biological women that naturally have a lot of testosterone. Those exist too. Man, that's a brain breaker right there, man. When you find out about people like Emaine Caliph and Castor Semenya, that's a brain breaker. Because it's like you have people who are biological women, and they operate just like other men, and they crush. They absolutely crush.
Okay, so pretty much. So okay, so then do you think there should be no division when men and women's sports at all? They should just all play together.
No.
Doesn't make sense.
Well, it does because I believe that trans women are women. And so by that virtue, understanding that they are women, and I also believe that women ought be able to compete, including trans women. The question is what sport do I put them in? Typically speaking, in the particular sport that they go in, initially I was kind of on the side of a lot of right-wingers where I was thinking about specifically the natural advantage that men have over women. Though, as I kept thinking about it, I realized that that's kind of what sports are, is just natural advantages over people based off of like genetic as well as skill. To me, I'm like sitting there thinking, wait a minute, hold on. So let's break that down. If there is, say, like a person who's just like a genetic anomaly, typically in sports, if somebody is doing an incredible job in that sport for being a genetic anomaly, we don't typically like hate on that or say like that's unfair, that shouldn't happen. We typically celebrate it, actually. I mean, we do it all the time. I mean, we could look at, for example, Usain Bolt or Shaq. These are individuals that they have a ridiculous advantage over people. And because they have this ridiculous advantage over people, and let's face it, it's a natural genetic advantage over people. Yet for whatever reason, we let them compete. Is it fair that they compete? Hell no. No, it's not fair at all. Have you seen the size of Shaq? Have you seen that guy drink a water bottle? It's the biggest dude I've ever seen. It's insane. Anyway, do you understand where I'm coming at?
Oh yeah, sure. 1stAmenders. So listen, I think we're just going to have to agree to disagree. I don't think there's going to be any reasoning here. You know, you have the way that you think, I got the way that I think. So I think I'm just gonna end it here.
All right. Good talk.